Disclaimer. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as professional psychological advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're experiencing manipulation or abuse, please contact appropriate professional services. Master these psychological techniques and you'll never lose an argument again. Arguments aren't about who's louder or more stubborn. They're about psychology, influence, and understanding how people think. Most people lose arguments not because they're wrong, but because they react emotionally, lose control of the conversation, or argue without strategy. In this video, I'll reveal psychological tactics that help you win arguments effectively and ethically. These techniques work in personal relationships, at work, and in any situation where persuasion matters. Let's dive in. Point 1. Stay calm. Maintaining emotional control is the foundation of winning any argument. When you remain calm while the other person becomes emotional, you immediately gain a psychological advantage. Anger clouds judgment and pushes people toward exaggeration, personal attacks, and weak reasoning. Calmness, on the other hand, signals confidence, self-control, and inner authority. When emotions rise, the brain shifts from logical thinking to emotional reaction. By staying calm, you keep your thinking clear and strategic. Simple actions like slowing your breathing, lowering your voice, pausing before responding, and keeping relaxed body language can completely change the direction of an argument. You don't need to suppress passion, you just need to express it without losing control. In almost every situation, the person who stays emotionally grounded holds the real power. Additionally, staying calm gives you the ability to observe and analyze the other person's body language, tone, and patterns of speech. Every small detail becomes a tool to anticipate their next move and craft your responses more effectively. Emotional regulation is not just about appearing confident, it's a tactical advantage that allows you to remain strategic throughout the discussion. Point 2. Ask questions. Asking the right questions is far more powerful than making statements. Instead of telling someone they're wrong, guide them to see the gaps in their own logic. This approach, known as the Socratic method, keeps you in control while avoiding direct confrontation. Questions force people to explain, defend, and clarify their position. As they do, inconsistencies naturally appear. People trust conclusions they reach themselves much more than conclusions imposed on them. When you ask questions calmly and with curiosity, you appear reasonable rather than aggressive. In personal arguments, questions shift emotional complaints into specific, solvable issues. For example, instead of saying, "You never appreciate my efforts," ask, "Which specific actions upset you, and what would have made you feel supported?" This moves the conversation from general frustration to concrete examples and solutions. Strong communicators don't dominate arguments, they guide them, letting the other person reveal their own weak points. Point 3. Steelman, don't strawman. Most people weaken their opponent's argument to make it easier to attack. This might feel satisfying, but it damages credibility. Steel manning means presenting the strongest and fairest version of the other person's position before responding. By acknowledging their reasoning and concerns, you demonstrate honesty and intelligence. This removes their ability to say, "That's not what I meant," and forces them to address your response directly. When you can defeat a strong argument respectfully, your position becomes far more convincing. Steel manning also earns respect from anyone watching the discussion unfold. It's not just about respect, it's about psychological leverage. When someone realizes you can fairly represent their argument and still challenge it successfully, it creates a sense of awe and credibility that makes others naturally side with you. Point 4. Active listening. Active listening is one of the most effective yet overlooked argument strategies. It means fully engaging with what the other person is saying rather than preparing your next reply. When people feel heard, their defensiveness drops and emotional intensity fades. Using eye contact, brief acknowledgments, and paraphrasing their points shows respect and control. This also encourages them to talk more, often revealing weaknesses or contradictions in their own reasoning. At the same time, it gives you space to think strategically. Many arguments end simply because both sides finally understand each other clearly. Active listening also demonstrates intellectual patience. People are more likely to follow your reasoning if they feel you genuinely understand their perspective. This alone can convert a hostile argument into a collaborative problem-solving discussion. Point 5. Strategic concession. Admitting valid points is not weakness, it's confidence. Strategic concessions make you appear reasonable and trustworthy. When you agree with a fair point, you lower resistance and invite cooperation. The key is to concede small or secondary points while protecting your core argument. This approach shows balance and maturity. It also makes your remaining points stronger because you're not clinging defensively to every detail. People are far more willing to listen to someone who demonstrates flexibility without losing direction. Using the yes and approach, you validate concerns before pivoting to your stronger argument. This subtle psychological tactic reduces defensiveness and encourages dialogue rather than confrontation. Point 6. Frame control. Every argument operates within a frame, the way the issue is defined. Whoever controls that frame controls the conversation. The same situation can be framed as control or care, criticism or concern, conflict or collaboration. By reframing accusations into positive intentions and shifting focus toward solutions, you change the emotional meaning of the discussion. Never accept a frame that positions you as the problem. Instead, redefine the issue itself as the problem and present both sides as potential contributors to the solution. Frame control gives you long-term influence. People subconsciously adjust their reasoning to match your frame, meaning you're effectively guiding the conversation from start to finish. Point 7. Evidence and logic. Facts and logic are powerful when used correctly. Rather than overwhelming people with data, present a clear line of reasoning first, then support it with focused evidence. This helps others follow your thinking instead of feeling attacked. Use relatable examples, shared experiences, expert consensus, and simple analogies. Avoid arrogance and stay open to better information. Confidence combined with intellectual honesty makes your argument far more persuasive than aggressive certainty ever could. Well-chosen evidence makes your argument tangible. People remember examples and analogies far more than abstract points, making your argument stick even after the discussion ends. Point 8. Avoid personal attacks. The moment an argument becomes personal, progress stops. Personal attacks weaken your position, create sympathy for the other person, and derail the discussion entirely. They signal frustration rather than strength. If attacked, stay calm and redirect attention to the issue. You can calmly point out the shift or ignore it and continue logically. Maintaining composure while others lose it positions you as the more credible and controlled participant. This approach is psychologically disarming, making opponents less aggressive and more open to discussion. Point 9. The pause technique. Silence is a powerful psychological tool. A deliberate pause before responding signals confidence and thoughtfulness. It slows emotional escalation and adds weight to your words. Pausing after strong statements allows them to sink in. Pausing before difficult responses prevents regret and shows control. Often, silence pressures the other person to keep talking, revealing weaknesses in their own argument. Strategic pauses transform reactions into responses. Pauses also create subtle tension that draws attention to your next words, giving them greater psychological impact than if you spoke immediately. Point 10. know when to walk away. Not every argument deserves your energy. Some people argue to win, not to understand. Others are too emotionally invested or defending core beliefs tied to identity. In these cases, logic has little effect. Recognize when conversations become repetitive, hostile, or unproductive. Walking away calmly is not losing, it's choosing peace and self-respect. The strongest communicators know when engagement is useful and when distance is wiser. Walking away demonstrates self-control and strategic intelligence. It signals that you value reason and productivity over ego, leaving both parties calmer and the discussion preserved for future resolution. Winning arguments isn't about overpowering others. It's about clarity, control, and knowing yourself. Choose your battles carefully, protect your peace, and remember, true power lies in self-mastery. You now have the psychological toolkit to win arguments effectively and ethically. Remember, the goal isn't to destroy your opponent, it's to reach truth, solve problems, or at minimum, maintain your dignity and position. Which technique do you find most powerful? Have you used any of these successfully? Share your experiences in the comments below. If you found this valuable, subscribe for more psychology content that gives you real-world advantages in life. And hit that like button to help this video reach others who need these skills. Next video, I'll reveal the body language of dominance and how to project confidence in any situation. This pairs perfectly with today's techniques. Don't miss it. This content is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not professional psychological advice, therapy, or medical guidance. The information presented is based on psychological research and principles but should not replace consultation with licensed mental health professionals. If you are experiencing abuse, manipulation, or mental health concerns, please contact National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. Crisis Text Line. Text HOME to 741741, your local mental health services. The creator and channel are not responsible for any actions taken based on this information.